Why teams really underperform, and it's not because of distrust. Despite all you may have read, teams don't underperform because the individuals on the team distrust each other. Distrust is a symptom, not the cause. It doesn't emerge in a vacuum, it emerges because of something else. Here are the 3 real reasons most teams underperform. 1. Incompetence. Way to go, Les. Start by maligning the team members. Punching down is such an easy answer, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. Here's the thing. While the single most common reason teams underperform is because of the incompetence of a significant number of the team members, and depending on the size of the team, that significant number can be as low as 1, the word itself is descriptive, not accusatory. It simply means someone is lacking the skills, knowledge, tools, or context their role requires. And when that's true of someone on your team, the cause is at least as likely to be your failure as theirs. Did you brief them properly? Did you give them the authority, the information, the equipment they needed? Did you place them in a role that actually fits their capabilities? Or did you promote them past it and then walk away? In my experience, when I sit down with a team member who's been quietly labelled incompetent, it's often the case that the competence gaps weren't created by them. They were created around them, and no one, including their team leader, bothered to close those gaps. That said, sometimes the competence gap genuinely is the team member's responsibility, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Note that here we're not talking about their competence as functional managers. They may or may not be good at managing their own division, department, project, group, or team. This is about their competence as team members, an entirely different thing. The easiest, but by far the most painful part of my job is to call the elephant in the room and state the obvious that once you've done your part as a leader to equip them properly, some of your team members simply shouldn't be sitting at the table. Hardest of all, if that person also happens to be the team leader who I'm speaking with. 2. Misalignment. I have a confession to make. There are a number of words and phrases that sit at the core of predictable success that I've come to loathe. Near the top of that list is the word alignment and its negative, misalignment, as used above. I loathe the word because of the degree to which it has been emptied of all meaning by being trotted out endlessly as part of the vast sea of corporate LinkedIn speak we're all exposed to these days. And yet the underlying concept that any group of people trying to achieve common goals need to be pointed in the same direction is so crucially important that I wish I could come up with a better word to describe it. Irrespective of the word we use to describe it, the reality is that every team begins to drift from its North Star the moment it's first assembled. Sometimes that North Star is never really firmly established in the first place. If you have pretty much bridged your team's competence gaps, and yet you're still finding that they underperform, then a lack of alignment around a clearly established North Star is the likely reason. More on this in next week's blog post. 3. Lack of shared vocabulary. Every consistently high-performing team I've worked with has displayed the same intriguing characteristic. They use an optimum amount of shared vocabulary, an innate shared understanding about what certain key words or phrases mean. Of course, these key words and phrases change from organization to organization and from team to team. It might be leadership or customer service or this month's sales budget or even optimum inventory level. But whatever the word or phrase is, everyone involved understands clearly, unambiguously, and without exception, exactly what is meant by it. Low-performing teams, on the other hand, wrestle in a mire of conflicting opinions and ambiguous interpretation of even the most fundamental concepts. It's hard to hit your revenue goals when no one agrees precisely what they are. It's hard to display consistent leadership when there's no joint understanding as to what leadership means. It's hard to deliver consistent customer service when there's no unified agreement as to what precisely that involves. One seriously important distinction: shared vocabulary is not the same as agreed policy. Many organizations have plentiful agreed policies but little or no shared vocabulary. Agreed policies are decided by committees and promulgated in manuals and memos. On their own, they're just words on a page. An agreed policy only becomes shared vocabulary when the people involved in implementing the policy develop and share an innate understanding and agreement to what the agreed policy means in reality in practice. Highly adaptive organizations and teams have more shared vocabulary than agreed policies. In fact, they prefer shared vocabulary to agreed policies because their shared vocabulary is a living, changing, adaptive tool, while agreed policies are brittle, written in stone or on paper, and are out of date the day after they're written. Too much shared vocabulary can be a bad thing, indicative of a cult-like, unthinking, unquestioning culture that quashes independent thinking. But too little shared vocabulary is worse. If there are fewer than 3 material important things about which you can put your hand on your heart and say, everyone on my team absolutely knows what we mean by this, then you should be worried. If there are more than 10 or so, you might want to loosen the knot a little. Here's the key question. What are the 7, 8, or 9 things about which your team should have a shared vocabulary?